All right, so this video is introducing a new mini challenge to this year's Axe Cordwood Challenge. This is the Low Stump Challenge. This was suggested by Owen Jarvis on the Axe Cordwood Challenge Facebook page, and you might know him on YouTube as Elemental Force, and if you don't, check out his channel. He's got great videos. Yeah, and so the point of this challenge, well, is to cut a low stump, a stump that is less than 6 inches high, for a tree that is 8 inches or more in diameter. So I've just done that. I'll show in the video how that went for me and explain a little bit more about the challenge. So there's my stump, pretty much ground level, maybe an inch or two, a few centimeters higher in some places, depending on where you look at it, because the terrain isn't exactly even. So there's a couple of reasons that Owen suggested this challenge. One is because this is a traditional technique. So this is a traditional way to fell trees used in Europe, and also I believe it's used in Asia. And the reason is fairly obvious. It's to waste less wood in the stump and have more wood in the timber that you're going to process, so in the log that you fall. And that makes a lot of sense in the European context where timber is limiting. Historically in North America, timber was less limiting than cleared land, so the priorities were different. Although I should add that modern felling of high-value timber trees like white oak, I know that production fallers also cut low stumps, but they do it with chainsaws. The way you cut a low stump like this with an axe is using a technique that's called rounding, and there's even specialized axe patterns that are meant for that, so rounding axes in the UK, but there's also different specialized axes in France and Germany and probably other places as well. And what you do is you cut away the root buttresses so that the trunk continues as a cylinder from higher up where it's actually cylindrical down to the level you're cutting. So hopefully that'll be a little bit clearer. I'll show some footage that will explain it better than I can do with words right now. So I'll show me doing it, not very well, and then I'll show some old footage of professional fellers doing it. The other reason that Owen thought that this would be a good challenge is because it will allow us to develop some skills and try out techniques that are previously unfamiliar. Of course, that's the best way to learn about historical techniques, is to actually try them out. I will say I did learn a lot, and I definitely did not do, it was more difficult than I thought, and I didn't do as good a job as I thought. It was very hard to do the lower cut to pop the chips, to get that flat, and afterwards I watched some footage of how it's supposed to be done, and I realized I wasn't doing it right, so a little bit of a rounding error there. But yeah, I'll show how that went for me, and hopefully you guys will try it out. One difficulty with the flaring at the base of the stump is that it's a little tricky to decide where to measure. So Owen suggested that we cut it so that there's a stump less than 6 inches above ground level and a tree more than 8 inches in diameter. And the trick is to measure the diameter with the root buttresses, kind of whether they're included or not. So as you get closer to the ground, the tree, the diameter of the trunk increases very, very fast. If you've ever seen a tree, you know how it flares out at the base. So I think that it should be measured either above the root flare or after you've rounded it. So I've cut away the root flare on this before I felled it, before I did the face cut and the back cut. And so the hinge is basically what I consider a reasonable way to estimate the diameter of this stump, because I put the hinge roughly in the middle. And so this hinge on this tree is 14.5 inches, that's 37 centimeters, so substantially more than 8 inches. I'm not going to get, bogged down in policing how people measure trees for this challenge. That's not really the point of the challenge. So I'll allow people to use their judgment based on what they have available and what they feel like they want to try. But that's my recommendation for how to do it. And I hope more of you try it out and have good luck and do it safely and have fun, and hopefully we'll learn some things from it. I know I did. You can probably tell that I'm having difficulty keeping the release cut flat. So I'm having trouble with the lower cut, keeping it flat. It's always slanted. And so after I cut the tree down, I went to look at, how it was done in the old footage. And the issue is that when I'm doing it, I'm swinging from my shoulder like you normally would. And in the old footage, for the really low release cuts, they have a different swing. They're swinging it basically parallel to the ground. And I'm not doing that. Here's the same technique being used in some old footage from the Black Forest in Germany. Looking at this technique, I can definitely see why a lot of those rounding axes and other felling patterns were so heavy, because it makes sense that you would want to have something to compensate for the fact that you probably can't generate a lot of head speed with a swing like that. So in order to get work done, you want the head to be at least heavy. I guess sort of like a hewing axe. Next time I try something like this, I'll see if I can get that technique to work for me. I'll probably use the same axe. This is a heavy 5-pound head. It's the heaviest chopping axe that I've got, so it's probably the one to try it with. So on the back side of this tree, there's another loose branch. I might not be able to reach it. I'm going to grab my hard hat. I will try to get it down, knock it down, but I might not be able to. So yeah, I'll just try to be as safe as I can when I'm doing the back cut. Whew. A lot of work. All right, so there it is, low stump, very flat, went quite well. There's the hinge. It's about, I don't know, 3 centimeters wide, maybe 4 centimeters wide in places. It was definitely quite difficult to do the bottom of the cuts as smooth as I'd like to think I could do them, and as the old timers did them. I definitely am not at that skill level, and it was harder than I thought. With this axe, I don't know if it was really this axe's fault. It seemed like it was easier when I've done it before with a lighter axe, but anyway, it worked out okay. This side is a little higher, the back cut side, and that's partly because there's kind of a hill in the way here, where in the way of where I was trying to kneel and stand and crouch, and I think that's why it's a little higher on that side. But also because I didn't switch hands, I used my my good right-handed swing for both sides, and you know, I kept it as flat as I could. It's pretty flat, but not perfect. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that level of difference, but it's something to think about. Anyway, yeah, low stumps are possible with an axe, but tiring, very tiring. So I dropped this tree yesterday, and someone is already here to take advantage of it. We have our old friend, the porcupine, getting away into the bushes. Yeah, it's a lot easier to eat bark off trees when you don't have to climb them. Although, this top of this tree is dead, so it might not be any good for porcupines anyway. Anyway, try another tree, preferably one I don't really like.